I wouldn't say it's the prison's responsibility, obviously, to track them down. If you need to start a manhunt, you would need to start, well, if it was my case, I would obviously start with the known relatives. There's been many reports, and obviously they had to take a DNA sample of the person who claims to be his mother. I saw some reports that say they don't even know if that's his true biological mother. But you need to start, obviously, with relatives. Secondly, we know that he's been operating on social media accounts when he was in prison. I would say social media platforms like Instagram that we know he used, Facebook, where he has lots of friends. Those people and those messages in his inboxes needs to be interrogated. The people need to be interviewed. And from there, you can start building your profile. You need to go and have a look at his bank accounts. You need to go and have a look at what transactions there was. And obviously, there was this picture that the rounds, I mean, they should have started there, actually, to say that, you know, if he's been spotted in a public area, why didn't they start the investigation there? That's how I would sort of start my investigation.
And interesting, as you mentioned, the various accounts given of where he would have been spotted. Latest reports are even pointing the finger at law enforcement, saying that he's escaped twice, speaking about the reported escape from a luxury mansion in the north of Johannesburg. I think it was Bryanston that they said, but also reports suggesting that pictures of him, of video footage of him appearing at this big media banquet that was touted, or pictures that were used to advertise the event, had his head superimposed on the body of a Hollywood A-lister. So how much does that complicate things? What is real and what isn't?
Well, it complicates things quite a bit. I mean, you have to ask yourself the question, how did he have access to all of this whilst being in prison? You know, many inmates do have access to laptops when they study. And I think that was the reason why he studied. But certainly the hire of a suit and a fancy watch that he was wearing on his arm, you have to sort of ask yourself the question and also begin there that who in and amongst the staff members of the prison wardens and the people who work there knew about this. I mean, it's against the rules. They know what is the rules, they know what's not. You're not allowed to operate a business from inside a prison. So how was this, you know, allowed in the first place?
And the kind of technology that would have been used in either attempts or the actual escape, can you just tell us what you've learned from past incidents, or what is actually doing the rounds in terms of speculation at the moment?
In terms of technology that was used to break out, I think it's very primal. You just need people. You just need people on your side. I think the old saying that goes, it's not what you know necessarily, but it's who you know and what you know about them that gets you places. You know, if you want to break out of a prison cell, and let me just say this, I've been to many prisons in my career capacity as a visitor. And every time I'm there, I look at the defenses, the walls, the amount of gates that I, as a visitor, need to go through just to get to the common area where I'm allowed to visit the prisoner. It's impossible. It's impossible to simply walk out of a prison without somebody helping you. I mean, they don't design prisons for the inmates to just stand up and leave whenever they choose to. So, I mean, in terms of technology that was used to get out, I think it was very primal. You just need to use the people on the inside to make friends in the right places, and you'll be out. I mean, if we look at the statistics of 2020 and 2021 and 2022, there was a combined, if I can remember correctly, 127 odd inmates that escaped. And I cannot imagine that in any one of those cases, whether it be similar to this one or not, they had just done so freely by getting up and getting out.
Now, the money trail, that's also very important. We've seen much speculation about transactions that the fugitive made online, implicating some politicians or respected members of society, has been the suggestion. How would you say, from past experience, have criminals been able to frisk the system, identify who the people are and their connection, if at all, to an escape such as this?
Well, I would start with what we have, what we know. What we do know is he has social media accounts, he has relatives, and he had some sort of communication platform that he used to run this business. Now, obviously, this business entailed money coming in and money coming out. If you were to follow the money trail, a Section 205 on the bank account would be a nonsensical move in terms of, obviously you need to start there. I would say that it is one of the first things I would do to get out of the way, because those things sometimes take time, but you have to start there to see where did the money come in, when did the money go out, and who is involved. Then you can start to identify role players, like you say. Key politicians have been implicated in this. There was a celebrity doctor that was implicated in this. She recently abandoned the house where she was renting from. That's where you need to start. They need to, I'm not really sure, why it's taking them so long to do any of this. You had an interview yourself with the spokesperson of the prison, and he said it took more than a year to compile the report. This is not rocket science. It's to track a man down that escaped from somewhere. So I'm not sure why they're finding this so difficult.
So let me ask then, as a follow-up question, because I'm wondering, what is the nature of the relationship between correctional services, and if there is a private vendor in the outsourcing of incarcerating people? If it is alleged that he escaped, I think somewhere around August last year, and it's only now people seem to be tweaking that he escaped and he disguised his own death, what is the communication that is expected, or the obligation thereof, between these two parties?
I'm not sure when it comes to the legality of the communication between the two parties. But certainly, an autopsy report does not take a year to compile. And I'm under the impression that a lot of things have been kept secret, or at least kept in the dark for a period of time to buy time for whatever. I mean, the people recognized faces a month after he allegedly burned in the cell. How come back then these questions weren't asked and an investigation was probed? So in terms of communication between the two parties, I'm not exactly too sure, but I would definitely expect a lot more than what we know by now, given the time frame that is elapsed already. I think we know too little, too late.
All right.
It's been a year. This should have gone a lot further by now.